Welcome to Community Chats, bringing you stories and insights from the heart of Community Living Toronto, a non-profit organization that proudly supports people with intellectual disabilities and their families. We will focus on stories of belonging and inclusion and topics of interest from communities across Ontario and the world. From uplifting moments to breaking barriers, from innovative policies to ideas from leading thinkers, we continue to advocate for inclusive communities and support the rights and choices of people with an intellectual disability.
Hello, I'm Brad Saunders, CEO at Community Living Toronto. Welcome to our Community Chats podcast, an opportunity to share, learn, and understand each other better. These podcasts are released on the 15th and the 30th of each month, so please listen, like, and give us your feedback. These are one of the ways we want to stay in touch and connected with our community. We always value your feedback as well. Each October, we celebrate National Disability Employment Awareness Month. CLTO is proud of the work we do in employment through our dedicated group of employment specialists. Today, I chat with Nick Hadjiyianni, a manager in our employment supports service, and he brings decades of experience and leadership to his role. We cover a lot of ground in our conversation, and there's a lot of really helpful information for people that are looking for, have, or looking to upskill a job. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did having it. Really glad to be chatting with Nick Hadjiyianni today, manager in our employment services area at Community Living Toronto. Particularly important because October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and no better time like this month than to highlight employment and work for people with disabilities, where things are going, and Nick is more qualified than anybody I think I know to do this. He's been in this work a long time. So Nick, welcome to Community Chats.
Thank you, Brad. It's a pleasure.
Great. Now, to get things off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started working as in the engineering field, going back about 36 years ago.
Engineering like trains?
No. Engineering like
I'm a dad, so I make dad jokes once in a while. But
engineering as in like electronic engineering, and I got a job at IBM. And then shortly after, Community Living Toronto was bidding for a job to do their managed services at the Markham location. And I was the senior operating individual at that IBM site. So Community Living Toronto asked me if you are willing to work with Community Living Toronto in training people on what you do in doing the data management and the managed services. And I said, sure. So at that point in time, was hired by Community Living Toronto on a contract in 1989. And at that point in time, I was working with individuals with disabilities, teaching them how to do the mounting of the tapes, the printing, the distribution, some of the computer work and the data entry, the customer service. And I loved it. It sparked something in me about working with people with disabilities and giving them the opportunity to learn something and create some type of forward movement in their employment journey. And at that point in time, I applied for a job within supported training on the job. And I worked there for a couple of years. And then I got a job as a support worker 3 with employment services, and then moved up to a supervisor. And in the last 20 years, I've been doing management with the employment services team.
So this, the sort of many people in our field sort of come across employment and a passion sort of accidentally or incidentally. And this seemed to happen with you. You had a job doing something else and got interested in this and have stuck with it.
Yeah, well, when I was little, I lived the next door neighbor of my house was this young girl, same age as me, going to public school, and she was deaf and hard of hearing. And a lot of times I wanted to play with her and communicate with her, and I couldn't. So actually, I learned as a young kid how to sign to communicate with her. And that led me to, well, if other people can talk to her, they can talk to me, and I'll talk to them on behalf of her and show her. And when I got the job at Community Living Toronto, I'm like, you know what? One is leading me to the other. And I found that path, like, you know what? I could give a voice to individuals and help them with their employment journey and teach them some skills and like show some analytical breakdown of the job so they can learn the job in many different aspects. And in areas that they need assistance, we can provide more job coaching and teaching them how to do the job. So I found that aspect enlightening on my part.
Great. So employment for individuals with disabilities has really changed over the years. So there was a time when we used to have employment training centers or services where people would go to a large warehouse often, and you do, organizations like Community Living and many others had contracts where people would, work on sort of assembly line type work with the idea that they would get some level of job skills and understanding and then move on to employment. We haven't had those types of sheltered workshops, was what they were known as, for many years. And many years before that, there weren't a lot of new people coming into the employment, sort of the sheltered workshop system. So we've been out of that for a while, meaning that's not an option available. But how have you seen, what are other ways that employment for people with disabilities has changed over the past, since 1988, 89, when you got started?
Well, the one thing about the change of employment is there's a greater awareness amongst employers about hiring people with disabilities and the DEI initiatives. Yet there's still struggles with employers needing to hire individuals and understanding the key benefits of hiring people with disabilities, in reference to the benefits with retentions and the dedications and the reliability. Employers a lot of times are thinking, it may cost me money for accommodations, but that's false. The accommodations are so minimal, and the support mechanisms that we offer individuals with disabilities on the work site is the job coaching, the retention, the job development, helping them with their resumes. That transitional part has moved on to more of a service delivery model, and individuals that used to be part of the individuals that used to be part of the segregated workshops. A lot of those individuals are older, and they're looking for different types of work. But the new individuals that are coming into the developmental service sector are looking for more specific jobs. They have a goal. They know what they're looking for. They've gone through the co-op program within the education system, and they know what they're looking for. So it's just a matter of us having an honest conversation, a detailed conversation, and asking them, what are you really looking for? Why are you looking for this? What skills do you have? What skills will you be needing to get to this? And having that conversation and letting them let us know what they're looking for us to put like a journey, a plan together for us to help them to get there.
Okay. So in turn, maybe you could walk us through that journey. So if someone is, in grade, not getting into high school, working their way through high school, and they've got options in high school, maybe you can walk us through that journey around what might have happened in high school and how you would come into employment training that Community Living Toronto would offer.
So when an individual's finishing from high school or exiting high school the last couple of years, we have relationships with all the district school boards and Catholic boards. And when anyone is graduating or exiting the school system from the spec ed program, we connect with families, we connect with guidance, we connect with the special education teachers in assisting us to let us know which individuals are transitioning, which ones are going through post-secondary, which ones are not, and how they can connect with services, because guidance wants to either help somebody get into university or help somebody transition out of high school and give them something more secure to look into within their employment journey. When they connect with Community Living Toronto, we do a thorough understanding of their dreams and their transitions through an intake. When we speak to them about their intake and what type of jobs they're looking for, what resumes building we're looking for, what supports they're looking for, we also take that information and do some job development. We look at what employers are hiring, what type of jobs are available, what employers can we contact for us to help this individual find a job. Once the job is sustained, or once we find a job, we can introduce the individual to the employer. At that point in time, there's job coaching skills, because specializing in the details of task analysis and teaching individuals either through pictures or through text or through repetitive simulation. And then after that, once they have the job, we also work with them with job retention, job advancement, to build up more experience and knowledge for the individual. Once they do have a job and they're looking for something else, we can help them with that also.
Okay, that's great. Now, Community Living Toronto, our employment supports is funded currently by the provincial government, although that's changing in a new employment model. But it has been through ODSP, so the Ontario Disability Support Program. Do you need to be in receipt of ODSP to get to receive employment supports? And if you're not, how would that work?
No, you don't have to be in receipt of ODSP, but the majority of the individuals that come through us, come through employment supports with Dream Live in Toronto, are on ODSP
Right.
income, and we can help a lot of the individuals apply for employment services, as traditionally it was, to get on the employment services process.
Okay. We start out by saying that, this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And you've talked about the evolution of employment for individuals with disabilities over the last couple of decades. How do you think things have changed? And maybe what's your thought on what the current state of the view of employment is?
Um, it's with the economy, it's getting harder, and there's a lot of employers need to have more education on hiring people with disabilities. And in working with a lot of employers, like the focus on this is the job description, this is what you need to
Right.
get the job is not what I like to focus on. It's what type of skills, what type of individual do you need to be able to come in and do a portion of the job, and we can train them to do the whole job.
So with that, sorry, what's then the biggest misconception? If I'm an employer, or I'm running a small business, or I'm in an HR department, and I'm doing hiring, what's the biggest misconception that you and your team would see from people that are doing hiring?
Employers sometimes are asking, like, what is it going to cost me? Do I have to provide a lot of accommodations? Is there support for this individual? And if in the future, if something doesn't go well, what type of support mechanisms do we have in place for an individual to be supportive? And if it doesn't work out, there's the emotional part of, I may have to let this person go.
Right.
And there's supports and mechanisms put in place that we can work with the employer, we can support the individual, and have these placements successful.
So you found that to generally be a myth. The accommodation situation's not working out. There doesn't seem, in your experience, is there much of a difference between a disabled and a non-disabled employee around success at a job? Because what you're describing is typical for any employer. There needs to be a way, people need to be able to do the job and have the tools to do the job.
Exactly.
And sometimes you get employees that are fantastic and, stay long term and are your best employees, and other times you don't. Is there a marked difference between people with a disability and without that you've seen?
A market difference. Well, a lot of the jobs that employers connect us with is they want us to come in and establish a relationship with the employer. And then within the market, they're looking for entry-level positions for people with disabilities.
Right.
And the entry-level positions are not always the ones for people with disabilities. A lot of individuals have great skills, university degrees that we've worked with.
Right.
And we try to target different markets. It's not just the traditional, the entry-level positions. We talk to employers about, there's work at home, there's individuals that can do administrative support, they can do accounting, data entry. There's a lot of other jobs individuals can do. And the accommodations are very minimal. Sometimes it's not a matter of providing all these accessibility requirements that an individual may need. It may just be, well, they can't start work at 7. Can we start at 9? And the accommodation, they're very simple. It's conversational about what we will need to do to assist this individual, not only on the job, but also educate the employer and their workforce, about the individuals that they're hiring.
Okay. We did a podcast with Mark Wafer a while ago, and he ran a number of Tim Hortons for many years, and part of his business model was employing with people with disabilities. It was a fairly significant part of his workforce, doing work in his dining room. He had people doing cash, different jobs within his restaurants. And one of the reasons he showed that is that in the fast food industry, there's a high amount of turnover.
Yeah.
But he found that was not the case, and was why he sort of his business model built out, employing people with disabilities. Is that an exception, or is that a norm, or what's your experience with
that's the norm? Individuals with disabilities, once they land a job that they like and they get the supports and they feel confident of the job, it provides this confidence, and they look forward to going to the work, and the retention of individuals with disabilities is through the roof. And you don't no longer have those, and not in a bad way, but you don't no longer have the high school or university students that are transient. They're like doing this until they get more money and go somewhere else. Individuals with disability, the retention is through the roof, and they love what they're doing. And for an employer with hiring somebody with disability, the important part is when you're running a business in a community, the representation of your employees should be what the community represents also.
Yeah, great point.
And it's good for business, because I remember being at a grocery store and a Costco, and I was in line picking up some stuff, and I know that that Costco's hired people from Community Living Toronto to place them in there. And the individual behind me said, "Well, did you notice as an individual with disability putting things in the buggies?" I said, "I know, it's fantastic." I said, "It's a great initiative with the provincial government and Community Living Toronto." He goes, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, I was part of some of the conversation. I didn't want to say
it's a small world sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't want to say too much." And he said, "You know what? Just me knowing that Costco is a good outreach business in hiring people with disabilities that represent the community, I will continue coming to this Costco because it's good business sense." And I said, "I agree with you." And that was just a small example, and it's residual. People see that, people want to keep going because they see their community representative in the places they go to, either the coffee shops or the grocery stores or the libraries, which is important for business also.
Well, one of the goals we have at Community Living Toronto is to build communities and help foster communities where people belong, but they're also valued. And I would assume that having a job at a local grocery store or at the local restaurant, working as a DJ in a local wedding venue or things like that are all opportunities that people can fill. And as you say, make our businesses more reflective of the communities in which they operate.
Yes, I agree.
Great. So as people are getting started on their employment journey, coming out of high school, and I've got kids that are 19 and about to be 17, and you're trying to figure out what you want. It's a stressful time for anybody, and even more so because for individuals with disabilities, because sometimes the statistics around unemployment for people with disabilities is alarming. 50% or higher, depending on a person's skill or what part of the province you're in, but it tends to be very high. What advice would you have for high school students that are graduating out and parents that are working with their kids around what the future looks like?
Don't be afraid to try anything. Don't be afraid to try new things. Any door you open, you never know what's going to be on the other side. And some individuals have this certain concept of what they want their son and daughter to do, but it's not about what we're doing now in trying. As long as it's a safe environment, they're going to gain some type of experience and benefit in any job that they try, whether it's short-term or long-term, and they can take those skills and their transitional skills to somewhere else. The other thing that I realized is it's not only finding out what they like, it's what they don't like.
Okay.
So by getting those experience, like we've all had those jobs that, I like this part, but I would never do this again. And those are experiences that are invaluable for individuals, because that's knowledge-based information that is conversational, and we can say, well, you did this and you were really good at it. What about on this, when we find a specific job that gears to this, that has a little bit of something else that you can try also?
That's a great point. In my own sort of with my own son, he's got a job, and it's his first sort of job, and I say, you have the conversations, well, what do you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing, and he's like, I don't know, but I know what I don't want to do.
Exactly.
it's my part-time job. So that's a good point. What in terms of working in high school, and I don't know what the exact stat is, but your chances of finding employment in the future as an adult are increased greatly when you have part-time jobs as a student. Is that true?
That is 100% true. I totally agree with you.
What's your experience been there? What do you suggest to people?
Well, the longer you stayed unemployed, the harder it is to get employed.
Right.
or harder to become employable, because you need to always be part of the labor market to see what's out there, because things
Yeah.
are changing. The jobs that I'm talking with employers today are not the same employers or the jobs that they're asking me to fill, what it was 10 years ago. Like, it's different, and they're asking for more skills, and they're asking for more abilities for individuals, and these are skills that can be trained, and we can train individuals to do these jobs. It's just a matter of us keeping that relationship with employers, and having them understand that, people with disabilities have skills and abilities that are transitioning on the workforce, and how we're going to work with them to get those skills focused, and get them geared towards how an employer will benefit, and how the individual can participate and also contribute to the employer's needs in a
Right.
valued format.
Great, great. Now, we used to do, or still do, I guess, sort of employee of the year kind of awards that we've done, and we've awarded awards going back many years,
Yes.
to a wide variety of employers across the city, ranging from sort of movie theaters like Cineplex to grocery store chains to property management companies to offices to there's been a real range. In terms of those employers that we recognize or that you see as you're working with people, the employers that are exceptional, and really do create welcoming environments, is there any trick to that? Or what if somebody's listening to this and they have a small business and they want to bring somebody in but don't quite know where to start? What advice would you have, or what are the tips that they need to make that go well?
It's all about relationship building. A lot of the employers that we work with, we've had relationships with them for years, and then they hear through either the franchisees meetings or other meetings that they have with other individuals. I hired a person with a disability, and they're working fantastic. It's just a
Right.
matter of us meeting up with employers and have these conversations, and letting employers know that, hiring someone with a disability is an asset. It's part of the journey of owning a business, and it's part of your labor force, and it's part of your community, like we said before.
Right.
And the benefits don't stop by just only hiring one individual. A lot of employers will not only hire, they'll hire multiple based on their labor size. And
Right.
we have these conversations with employers all the time, and they're like, well, how do I begin? How do I do this? And it's a matter of, let's meet up with human resources, let's meet up with management, and let's have this conversation to see how we can build this up from the ground up. So it's not a matter of just hiring somebody. Oh, I think I should hire somebody to work at the front desk so they greet
Right.
people. No, there's other jobs within your labor force that we can have individuals with disabilities doing.
Great.
And how can we do that?
That's great. That's great. Now we at Community Living Toronto support about 100 people every year in getting employment, and then we're working with people that have a job and are retained on that to continue to work, and we're involved with them. So we're involved with 500 or 600 people a year that are in the workforce every year. And you've been at this for is it almost 30 years or 30 years? 20?
I just did 35 years in 1 month last week.
Okay, well, congratulations. Congrats. So you've literally been involved with thousands of people that have found jobs and have had successful careers. Is there a bit of an impossible question, but is there one person or one circumstance that jumps out as being really memorable or meaningful?
There's many, Brad. But
I figured, yeah.
Yeah, but one I can think of, it was an individual that I met at one of the schools, and they were looking for employment services. And this individual actually coincidentally just lived down the street from my house.
Oh, yeah.
And I would see him at the grocery store, and he was looking for employment. And his uncle called me and says, "You know what?" He goes, "My nephew is looking for a job." And I said, "Sure, let's have a meeting. Let's have a conversation." And he wanted to get a job because his mother has a disability, and he lived with his aging grandmother. So we ended up having a conversation and providing him some job coaching. And he's working part-time right now. And the only thing he wanted was to make money, to be independent, to be able to go to the grocery store and pick up some stuff for his grandmother and help his mom on a weekly basis to pick up a few things when she wasn't able to. And you know what? 2-3 years later, he's the happiest guy. He loves what he's doing. And I still see him around in the grocery store in my area. And he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he's the happiest guy because he feels like he's contributing and giving back to his family. instead of being the one always asking like I got to go to the grocery store. Can you come with me? I need money. This is a person now who has his independence. He's reaching his goals. Once he's able to work more hours, he wants to work full time. He wants to get a job with more benefits. So these are the goals we're working on. It's not a matter of finding them their first job. It's what's their journey look like. And he's going to come back to me, he said, in about 6 months, and he's going to want to work full time. And these are the life changing conversations that we've had with people, what a job offers an individual.
Right.
The ability to always make their own money and have a say of what they want to do with that money.
Yeah. And that sense that you've got a place, right? You belong
Yes.
somewhere. You've got a place that you're valued because people are relying on you to go to work and do your contribution to an organization and have a job. Just one final sort of technical question before I ask you sort of our typical wrap-up question. There were changes to ODSP employment supports over the last couple of years. So people can be receiving ODSP on ODSP and get a job and keep an amount of their earnings up to $1,000 before the province starts to claw back some of that income. That's that change. How have you seen it impact people that you're working with, or has that been communicated well enough so that people know that that's the case? You can earn $1,000 in a part-time job in a month that you get to keep without losing your ODSP benefits and without losing any income. In fact, earning more income.
Earning more, yeah. It's allowed people to step back and say, you know what, now I can make this, but I can also find something on the side that's not going to impact. And when you look at the formula, people are more inclined to say, well, because of the formula, I can actually now have employment as an option. And that has opened people's eyes and opened people's opinions about what work is like. And now I can have a job. Now I can earn a little bit more money. Before it was more of a penalty to have a job. Now it's more of I can do this, and I can go out and make $400 or $500, $600 a month, a little bit of extra, working part time, and they're not going to claw back any of the money because the money that I'm earning, it has a place in my life. I need to have this money because I have to pay my rent, I have to go groceries. But this little bit of extra allows me to have a little bit of choice in my life spending and what I want to do with it.
Yeah, that's good because so many people that are on ODSP, I mean, the rate is at least 50% of or less than half of the rate of poverty in the city. Right. So the ability to earn extra up to $1,000 a month really must make a difference for some people. It's been a good change because the previous limit was around $200. It's hard to find a part-time job that pays $200 a month. That's not a lot of hours. So this seems to be a really positive change going in the right direction.
I agree. I think the ministry did a good thing by changing that.
Good. Final question, and we've been asking everybody that comes on this Community Chats podcast and our family and friends webinars this question. So belonging. What does belonging mean to you?
I think it's a feeling of security, support, sense of acceptance, inclusion, and in identifying a certain member of a certain group. When individuals can bring, I guess, their authentic self to work without judgment from others. Belonging and acceptance is also brings strength and culture to any work site, in any organization. So people are looking for them to be belonging somewhere, and you get a sense of the culture once you go somewhere and once you go to a department or a new job of what that feels like, and it allows people to be themselves.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Oops, I've got a timer, so we're right on time.
Fantastic.
Thanks for this, Nick, and your 35 years plus 1 month have really made a difference in community living Toronto, but across the city, around the hundreds and thousands of people that you've and your team have helped find employment for. And I know that as things change in the the coming years, as they always do change and evolve, that you guys will be there kind of on the front lines of things, making sure that there's good jobs available for great people. Thank you.
We will be there. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate your time.
Nick has over 35 years experience in helping find people jobs across the city of Toronto. He got into the work because of his passion and has continued to do that for many, many decades. We're really fortunate to have people like Nick as part of our employment supports team at Community Living Toronto. There have been a lot of changes to the ODSP employment supports model and funding exemptions, earning exemptions over the last couple of years. So make sure you know what's relevant to your particular situation. Reach out to us, we can provide more information, or you can go to the Ontario provincial website to find more about the ODSP Employment Supports Program. Thank you for joining our Community Chats podcast. We release a new edition on the 15th and the 30th of each month, so please subscribe to keep up to date. Thanks for joining, and see you next time.
Don't forget to join us next time as we unpack the power of community through collaborative initiatives and shared experiences. Available on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Audible, and YouTube. Follow us on social media at CL Toronto. Let's chat, share, and spread those good vibes together. We hope these discussions will inspire you and give new ideas to add your voice to our mission of making our communities and neighborhoods inclusive and welcoming.